This is the All Rev'd Up podcast, and I'm Reverend Emmett Price.
And I'm Reverend Irene Monroe.
Irene, we're back for season 2.
Yes, indeed.
Now, what are you most excited about?
Well, I'm excited that we're executive producers, and do you know what that means?
Come on now. We're moving on up.
That's right, absolutely here. But it means that we have authorial control. Yeah. It means that we own our intellectual property.
Uh-oh.
It just means that we can have a kind of conversation that we shape for our audience, explaining really and talking about how faith intersects, culture and politics. So I'm really excited. It just, I couldn't be any more giddier, really.
Well, I'm right there with you. I'm surprised though that you didn't get on me for wearing a hat inside.
No, that's right.
That's a little generational tip here. I say if my homeboy DJ D Nice can wear his hat while he's DJing inside, I can wear my hat while I'm podcasting inside. How about that?
Absolutely. Now, the only time it would become a problem if you were in the pulpit and you got up and said, "Yo, people." Okay.
Okay, hold on right there. I'm not going to do that. I got a little bit of home training. I'm so glad to be here back with you. We have been off for a little while and we're back. And I am so excited to talk about a sister by the name of Kamala Harris.
There you go.
Check this out.
My mother taught me that service to others gives life purpose and meaning. And oh, how I wish she were here tonight, but I know she's looking down on me from above. I keep thinking about that 25-year-old Indian woman, all of 5 feet tall, who gave birth to me at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. On that day, she probably could have never imagined that I would be standing before you now and speaking these words. I accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States of America.
Kamala Harris.
Yay!
Vice President. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I have to tell you, I'm really excited, even though I've had to change my mind, because when she was running for president, I wasn't necessarily feeling it. I wasn't all in. And I'll share with you shortly why. But but now I'm like, yo, this is the moment. Like, this is the moment part 2. I mean, there was Barack Obama for president, and now there's Kamala Harris for vice president. How are you feeling about this?
Well, listen, I'm quite excited. I mean, really, I think what makes me so excited about it, that so many Black women have come before her, and
Yes.
This is the highest office that a Black woman has ever obtained. And so when I think about, and what makes this particularly important is just on the 18th, was the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, although it took Black women 45 more years, 1965. But it's an important moment. I mean, the nexus of these moments is just exciting. And, so I think about, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Ida B. Well, our homegirl, Ayanna Presley. But then my rep of the 12th Congressional District in Brooklyn, Shirley Chisolm. And I know, Shirley Chisolm is looking down from heaven and just smiling and says, yes, you are unbought and unbossed. That was her motto.
Well, we're going to come back and talk about Congresswoman Shirley Chisolm shortly. But we have to talk about this right now, because all of the things that people are saying about Kamala Harris, nobody's actually saying that she's not qualified.
Oh, they can't.
She was deputy district attorney in Alameda County in the 90s when I was up at Cal Berkeley, which is actually in Alameda County where her parents met. So, I got that little connection with her family there. And then she was an assistant district attorney in San Francisco in the late 90s. And then the district attorney of San Francisco from 2004 to 2011. And then she was the attorney general of California from 2011 to 2017. And then she's now the junior senator from California. Sister girl she got mad paper to show that she can actually do the job.
Listen also say this here. I mean, she's an intellectual scholar, and she really, to me, embodies what we say today, Sister Rocks. She got that black girl magic. I mean, really, you know, as they say, can't touch this.
Can't touch this.
Really.
Look at you.
I am so proud of her. And really, it's just one of those moments, a groundswell of all the women, seen and unseen, who have tried to get to this moment. That's why I know Shirley Chisolm is just smiling and saying, yeah, you go, girl. So this is just a great moment here.
Now, I know, because you and I have talked quite extensively, both during the early primaries and, you know, even more recently, she wasn't necessarily my favorite candidate for president. And then she actually wasn't. And then let me just be very clear and open and transparent. I was all in for Stacey Abrams as the VP pick, you know, and, you know, it shaped up that she was not going to be the candidate for so many reasons. But when Kamala was announced, something like just flipped for me. And I was like, yo, she's the perfect candidate for VP. I mean, she's not, you know, the same as Biden. She has different views, different opinions. She comes from a different kind of sense of politics. She's from different communities. You know, she's a Black Baptist. He's Catholic. I mean, all kinds of difference there. That
all of the
actually,
nexus that need to get together. But you know, the very interesting thing, I have to say this too. You know, Stacey was my girl because, you know, I've been reading her romance novels when she was Selena Montgomery. But I was thinking of it more strategically, which obviously the campaign thought of it much more strategically than I did. But I did have Val Demings as number one because the battle states. And then I certainly had our sister Keisha Lance Bottoms. And then Kamala came third. Because again, you know, I was hoping that if we can't turn Florida purple, maybe lavender. And Georgia, God help Georgia. It needs a lot of help. So I felt like if you got someone from Georgia that maybe would just swing the pendulum a bit. But, you know, but when I think about Kamala, I mean, what I'm concerned about is this Obama redux, meaning that have we spun a nostalgic story in a way that America could feel good about? It is not too, as I call exotica, not too exotic, not too frightening. Is it because, again, all the things that you said, but then again, I need to say this, the Democratic Party owes us, meaning Black women, we're the backbone, okay, of the Black church. We're the backbone of the civil rights movement. We're the backbone of this country. And so in many ways, you know, it's our due because we have been lifting this nation. It reminds me of this book, This Bridge Called My Back. We have been lifting this nation, and yet we are essential, but just like undervalued, underappreciated. So in many ways, I appreciate the brothers who backed Kamala and said, and you even said it on a previous show, Emmett, that if you don't choose a Black woman, your campaign is tanked. So I'm really glad for this moment because it really talks about our political power and leverage that we have and the kind of agency that we've always had, but in this reckoning moment, I believe it's going to happen, but my concern, Emmett, is this. Is this symbolism or is this going to be substance?
Well, because I think we need to talk about that on the other side of the break. But before we get to the break, we need to invoke the large and broad shoulders of Congresswoman Shirley Chisolm, on who so many sisters are standing on right now. Talk to us, Irene. Talk to us about Shirley Chisolm.
Absolutely here. So I was part of the youth division of her campaign. Al Sharpton ran it. And so it really got me, I was 16 years old, and it really got me quite interested in politics. I think that's why I will not miss an opportunity to vote. And the wonderful thing about it is that she represented the 12th congressional district. And what she did for us, because see, we the project people of Brooklyn. Okay, we the po people, but she represented us. No, she really did. She represented us, and she made us feel, because when you feel disenfranchised, you're living in a community that is not represented, don't get services. I mean, I can just go on and on. And when the riots hit, there was nothing to rebuild our community in terms of stores, in terms of our schools. And what she did was she knocked on every door, and those projects are huge, okay, and they're high rises. And she made us feel important, that our vote was important. And she said, you vote for me, I will make it happen. And you know what? We all gathered. She got the children. It's all, you know what I mean? She got us to run up and down the stairs, you know, and tell people it's important to vote, come out and vote. So I just bless her. I hope she's just smiling down on this. And listen, this book, okay, this is back in the day when it was 95 cents, but has always this has always been my Bible. And when she signed it, I was just in glee. So, you know, really, this is her legacy. This is showing really proof positive of her legacy.
Let's listen to her speak. Let's let our listeners hear the sound of Congresswoman Shirley Chisolm as she declares her candidacy for president in 1972.
Yeah.
I stand before you today as a candidate for the Democratic nomination for the presidency of the United States of America. I am not the candidate of Black America, although I am Black and proud. I am not the candidate of the women's movement of this country, although I am a woman, and I'm equally proud of that. I am not the candidate of any political bosses or fat cats or special interests.
What a moment. What a moment. It just brings me back to that moment. You know, this is when, back in the day, when someone Black was on television, you call everybody up and say, someone's Black. And you could hear the cheers all through the block, the community, when she gave that speech. And I just got to say something about Shirley Chisolm. A huge persona, because to be quite honest, she was no more than 5'1". Mm-hmm. And you know what's so bold about it? And I just have to say, she looked like us. And, you know, it gave me hope as a Black woman in terms of that maybe my dream can come to fruition. And she spoke with a lisp, you know, and a Brooklynese accent. So I'm just, you know, and I'm like, okay, that's me. That's me. You know?
She looked like us, she talked like us, and she knew how to talk to us and to be with us and not talk at us and to talk above us. And so, you know, because you asked a question that we're going to the break, but I think Kamala is in that same vein. She knows how to be with us. She knows how to talk to us. She knows how to be amongst us. And I think that there's something that she brings to the table that is going to be so necessary for this Democratic ticket. It's going to be so necessary.
Yeah, it's most definitely necessary. But this is what I'm worried about. We are very much, meaning as African Americans, in terms of how we don't leverage our power, very much a reactionary kind of voter here and stuff. And so my concern is that we can't erase, and we're hoping that she will correct her AG record. I mean, you know, the truancy law. I mean, that kind of stuff is going to come front and center. And so I'm hoping that won't, you know, hold her back, but she does bring a lot. I mean, the sororities are all out. It talks about not only the agency Black women have, but the money power.
Well, you know, the thing about that, and I'm so glad that you mentioned the sororities and the fraternities. I see you rocking your old gold just like me. The brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We certainly supporting our dear sister. But you know, people change, and her career going back 30-something years, people change, and I think she brings that to the table. But her consistency, even in the midst of her changing her mind, her consistency in certain areas, like her holding true and to not changing her mind on the death penalty, and for a number of other areas where she has, you know, kind of held her own. You know, I think she's going to bring some great things to the table. You're listening to the All Rev'd Up podcast, and we'll be right back.
And you know, my mother and father, they came from opposite sides of the world to arrive in America. One from India and the other from Jamaica, in search of a world-class education. But what brought them together was the civil rights movement of the 1960s. And that's how they met, as students in the streets of Oakland, marching and shouting for this thing called justice, in a struggle that continues today.
Wow, Irene, I'm feeling this from the streets of Oakland to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I can see it. I can see it. Are you catching the vision? Are you
Oh,
catching it?
absolutely here. And you know, it's so interesting. She comes from your part of the country. So I mean, you know her in a more personal way than I do, you know, just watching her on television and hearing these wonderful speeches that she talks about her life.
Now, you mentioned Obama
Redux.
Redux.
That's right.
Now, you need to unpack that for
Oh
us.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what I want to get at is like is she going to be this sort of post-racial candidate? I mean, when we look at Obama, it's a
Ah,
kind of nostalgia that makes people feel good as we're trying to move forward. And I think what gets me about it is that, you know, does it disrupt the notion? Because again, Obama has been asked this: does it disrupt the notion that she's American? and
mm,
and what happens with that, because I think we've seen a lot of birtherism, anti, you know, immigration stuff. So I'm hoping that where Obama couldn't, because he was very sort of in a vice around talking about race, again trying to push this post narrative of, well, I call it a post narrative of a post racial society. I think she can't get around that, because see, both of her parents are considered the other,
yeah,
considered the immigrant.
yeah.
And she's not that kind of, her narrative spins very, very differently than Obama, but there's a lot of similarities to it. And, you know, again, calling her out of her name. Folks couldn't say Obama Hussein, you know,
Yeah.
Barack Hussein Obama, calling him a Muslim. Many people are wondering about her religion, but as you say, she goes to a Baptist church. She speaks like a Baptist.
I mean, you know what? And because you mentioned that, not only does she go to a Baptist church, but she actually goes to the Black Baptist Church in San Francisco, the Third Baptist Church of San Francisco, led by Reverend Dr. Amos Cleophas Brown Sr.,
Oh
who
my.
who
Okay.
not only is a Morehouse graduate,
All
but
right.
he
Check. That's all the money.
one of his claims of fame is that Martin Luther King Jr. taught one class at Morehouse during his career,
Uh-huh.
and Dr. Brown was in that class.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
then not only did Dr. Brown take the class from Dr. King, but he went to Crozier Theological
In
Seminary like
seminary.
King.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
and Dr. Brown's
So
been there since 1976. You talk about a legend in San Francisco. So that's the Black Baptist Church that she's a part of.
yeah, and the interesting thing is she really is the embodiment of religious pluralism. I mean,
Yeah.
because her mother Hindu, her father was a Christian, her husband is Jewish. So she's the best of all worlds, since, you know, religion becomes one of those litmus tests in terms of, you know, someone's electability. So when I say about the Obama redux, I mean, I'm wondering in many ways, because it doesn't follow that same trajectory precisely, will people be disturbed by it?
Well,
Because
I mean, let's be real about it though, because you know, Senator, the junior Senator Barack Obama, right? Junior Senator Kamala Harris.
all
Now,
right,
since we talking to our folks, Barack Obama was light skinned at it. Y'all, I mean, you know what I'm talking about? Kamala Harris is light skinned at it, right? I mean, so you know, and Barack Obama is biracial, right?
right.
Kamala Harris is biracial,
I
right?
know, but see,
It's,
but the question is that where Obama didn't talk about race for a whole lot of reasons
mhm.
here. Again, one of his parents was very much a white parent, and one African, and really expanded our understanding of what African American means without a slave ancestry. Kamala, in many ways, talks about the expansiveness of that identity, where the diaspora comes,
Yes.
whether it's coming from the Caribbean islands or whether it's coming from India. So my point is that yes, she's light-skinned, absolutely here. But the thing is that she can't run away from this sort of Black diaspora history. On top of going to an HBCU. So this is the shift to me that I am so happy about, that we feel that intelligence and leadership comes out of these Ivies.
Yes.
And I got one of those pedigrees. However, but however, I have a whole theory about that in terms of and my spouse, though, she went to an HBCU. So
Mhm.
I'm very proud, because what HBCUs do that the Ivies don't is that Ivies don't say you can't be that. They don't test your intelligence. If you fail, it's because you failed on your own merit. Okay, it's not a suspicion. It's and you know the thing that I like about this is that she stands on that legacy that all of our Black leaders come out of that HBCU. You know, and we can talk about King, Benjamin Mays. I mean, we can talk about Thurman, Thurgood Marshall, just all of them. So she brings that front and center. So as much as people would try to erase race with her, with the nostalgia of an Obama redux, this is a different narrative. And it says this, the danger of a single story.
Well, I mean, go on with that, because that's a whole nother long narrative. We need to do a whole episode on the danger of a single story, because you know one single story in this nation is the one drop rule.
Okay, so let's go with that.
Whether we invoke the one drop rule or not, I'm here to tell you right here, live on the All Rev'd Up podcast, that's my sister, SISTA. Yeah. That's my sister.
Yeah,
all right.
And it says a lot of stuff here. When you do this one drop rule here and then going to now denounce someone being Black, it erases white rape in America when Black women during slavery didn't have control of their bodies, replenished a labor force by being used as breeders. So my point is, you can't come up in here now and, you know, switch the script and ask the question that you perpetuate. I mean, I'm done.
You better preach. Right. You ain't done yet.
So my point is, yes, she's very much our sister.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you what else ain't gonna happen, since we signifying up in here. I'm not dealing with these folks who can't pronounce her name. Mr. Tucker Carlson on Fox News, Trump,
let's call that out.
And these folks out here, Mayor Barry Pressgraves from Luray, Virginia, who put on his Facebook post, Joe Biden has just announced Ain't Your Mama as his VP pick. We're not doing this. We're not doing this in 2020.
But
they're not doing this.
Yeah, they're not doing that. See, because and you know what? This feels like deja vu. Does it not?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's like done that, been there. Okay, you need to retire it. But see, there's a particular kind of racializing of doing this, racializing at the same time of trying to delegitimize her. Okay, because that stereotype, and there are three basic ones: Aunt Jemima, the maid. Okay, that's prevalent here, and then we got the Jezebel. Okay, that lascivious woman. Okay, and again, like Black women had control of their bodies within American slaveocracy, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, even today. And then there's this one, the Sapphire. Okay, the outspoken one.
Not Miss Sapphire.
That's right, the angry Black woman. And and see, the problem with all three of these stereotypes, they inform and shape policy. Because I will remember when Reagan used the Sapphire stereotype to talk about the welfare queen.
Yeah.
So my problem with that is that, I think again that with Kamala, this can't happen, because any way you want to spin it, it still will go, it goes back to Black. And you know what they say, once you go Black, come on now, can't go back.
You can't go back.
There it is.
I mean, so we are here. Kamala Harris is here. And, I feel like, who's Joe Biden? Like, I'm voting for Kamala Harris. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to call it out. I'm just going to call it out.
Can I just say this? He just needs to show up. And then someone said to me, and shut up. Okay. This is where he's not even the eye candy. Just be the white man, 70-year-old white man. Okay. Saying that but I have to say this, in many ways, because he is a 70-year-old white man that grew up ensconced in this white male supremacy. What it does, two things, because she called him out on the first debate. So it says to me, he's not afraid of an ambitious Black woman. That's number one. Number two, it says to me that he's passing the torch. Okay. Because he said, I will only serve for one term. And the point is this here. So my point is that, yes, just show up. Don't say no more. Just like, the other night when he accepted the nomination, thank you. And thank you. Okay. But the point is that I think Jim Clyburn has taught Joe Biden how to be presidential in this very multicultural and multi-democratic society. And so I think he'll be all right. And you know what I look forward to? Come on now, everybody. Now work with me. The debate between Kamala and Pence. Okay. It's gonna wipe the floor. Okay.
Look, we ought to host a watch party that night.
Absolutely. Because it really, so funny. It's not even of the gladiators. It's not like he's got this debating chops here. But the whole idea is that calling her out of her name, delegitimizing her, and is in many ways it's the whole note. She will, what she does. This is what she does here. She debunks all those notions about Black people and intelligence. Black people and and the ability to be articulate, because that's always a code word. So I just think that it is wonderful. But I agree with you. I think the strategy will very much get the vote out. I do wonder about the progressive wing, but we will see. We will see. We got some time.
Our sister is here, and that's that. I mean, really, that is that. Well, Irene, in our tradition, we like to bless our audience with a final word, a kind of a benediction, as it were. So do you have something for us today?
I really do. Wrote it down because I'm just so excited. And I wrote it with Kamala in mind, thinking about, our future as we move forward towards this election. So it says here, we have never been where we are today as a nation. From natural disaster to terrorist attacks, hate crimes, unmentionable acts of violence, and now civil unrest during a global pandemic. While division abounds among us, may we be bold and courageous enough to chart a better future for ourselves and this nation. Let us pray for the leaders of this country to come together, to provide strategic leadership that will lead to peaceful living. We pray for our leaders to make decisions that will lead towards dignity and the sanctity of all life, and leadership that will guide us in ways that promote peace over war, tolerance over intolerance, reason over blind passion, and love over hate. May we never become walls that separate, that hold some in and others out. May we work to being a nation that welcomes all, that nurtures one another, that works for justice, and that cares for this earth. So let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make our nation great, this world and ourselves more loving, more compassionate, and please, more united. Amen?
Amen.
Ashe?
Ashe.
All right.
All right. All Rev'd Up is brought to you by us, the Revs, and our amazing producers, Kyla Wright and Cavante Smalls.
Music for this episode is from Reverend Price's son, musical prodigy, Emmett G. Price IV. All Rev'd Up is distributed by WGBH.
Additional thanks to Bob Kempf, Nina Perzuki, Chelsea Mers, Meredith Neerman, and Zach Walden.
If you like what you hear, let us know. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts and follow us at All Rev'd Up Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of All Rev'd Up.